Hi, this is Timka Travels and today we are in Porto. Porto is a city in northern Portugal that sits on the Douro River.
There are 6 bridges over the river, but the Pont Luis I sits at the centre of the city and links Porto, on the northern bank, to Vila Nova de Gaia on the southern.
Only a couple of miles inland from the sea, the river sits at the bottom of a ravine and was historically deep enough for seafaring ships to sail right up to its quaysides.
The ravine is perfect for boats, but not so much when you're on foot.
However, it became the natural spot from which the local wine would be exported worldwide. That wine was so famous that it shares its name with both the city and the country itself, Porto.
At first glance, Porto resembles many other southern European cities, but when you see it closer up, you'll notice that buildings all over the city are adorned with stunning blue and white tiles.
Named Azulejos, painted tiles can be found all over Portugal, but it is the blue and white ones that are both the most famous and the most commonplace in Porto.
They can be found all over the facades of churches, houses, restaurants and bars. In fact, any building whatsoever. And inside too, where they act as a natural temperature control to keep the interiors cool in summer.
Azulejos were inspired by Moorish architecture all over the Iberian Peninsula, and they were initially manufactured in Spain. It was in the 16th century that Portugal embraced them in a big way and transformed these tiles into their signature style.
And they look bloody beautiful, don't you think? One of Porto's most famous landmarks is Livraria Lello.
It's actually a functioning bookshop, but you still have to pay a fee to enter. However, that is refunded if you buy a book in store.
It was opened in 1869 and is known for the remarkable staircase at its centre, which has led to it being considered one of the most beautiful bookshops in the world. There are tasty Portuguese delicacies to be found all over the city.
So we are in the Pastel de Bacalao. Jérémy, can you talk us through what you have here?
So we have obviously some port wine in Porto, and we have the typical Pastel de Bacalao, which is so-called salt cod donuts.
Sounds so good, I can't wait to try
No,
this.
they're very famous for it.
And it comes on this little platter.
Oh, cute.
It's like a little artist's thing. Port 1. Ooh, sweet. Port 2.
Explain.
Ooh, even sweeter. Port 3. Oh, beautiful. Port 4.
The flame sausage
Red.
and the
Port 5. I'll be honest, I can't really tell the difference now between them.
You're pissed. As well as drinking the port, you can head to the port houses on the quayside for a unique experience that shows you the history of this renowned fortified wine.
There are a lot to choose from, so you can afford to shop around a little. We chose Ramos Pinto, but each of them will give you a guided tour through their museums, telling you all about the history of their company.
Which is actually a lot more interesting than you might think.
And of course, you have to head below ground to their port cellars, where row after row of barrels sit aging in these dark and cool cavernous rooms. The Bolsa Palace is actually the ancestral home of Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro.
That's not true.
Prove it.
The Bolsa Palace is an unusual palace because, well, it's not a palace, at least in the royal sense.
No royals ever lived here. In fact, nobody ever lived here at all.
Instead, it was, and remains, the home of the stock exchange and was built by the merchants of Porto when Queen Mary II gave them the prime spot of real estate in the city after the convent that previously stood on this spot burnt down in 1832.
In its place, they built this impressive civic building, filled with commerce chambers and multifunction spaces.
The highlight of these is absolutely the Arab Room, an elaborate and ornate hall inspired by the interiors of the Palace of Alhambra.
With every inch of the room decorated in the Moorish revival style, it is today used to receive foreign dignitaries and heads of state.
Porto is one of the oldest cities in Europe.
Its centre, Pont Luis I, and the Monastery of Serra do Pilar at the top of the hill opposite are a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site.
The River Douro links all of the vineyards inland to the sea, and only fortified wines grown and fermented in this area can be called port.
Vila Nova de Gaia is lined with all the port cellars and has amazing views across the river, especially from its cable car that links the quayside to the monastery on the hill above.
It cost €6 for a one-way trip or €9 for a return.
Which meant that I finally got to go on a cable car! My cable car curse is finally over!
Can we finally move on from thinking that the universe doesn't want you to go on cable cars and funicles then?
Well, no, because the universe is definitely conspiring against me.
Shut up, Ben.
On a cable car, high above Porto, loving life, whoop whoop!
Of course, Porto is much bigger than just the city centre region.
As Portugal's second largest city, its suburbs extend all the way to the Atlantic coast and considerably inland along the banks of the Douro.
The best views come from the river itself, so we definitely recommend hopping on a boat to see the 6 bridges, one of which was designed by Monsieur Gustave Eiffel himself.
Who?
Only the most famous engineer in history, a fellow Frenchman actually, with the most famous landmark in Paris named after him.
Oh yes, the Palace of Eiffel.
Yes, that's the one, Ben.
But the very best views in the city are from the Pont Luis I itself.
Head there for sunset and you'll see the sun setting directly in front of you as the bridge faces west towards the Atlantic.
And what a sunset it was. Porto is a charming city with a lot to see and do.
It might have less landmarks than Lisbon, but it's the prettier of the two cities and has managed to maintain its historic charm, making it one of the most attractive cities in Southern Europe.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, share and subscribe, but most importantly, subscribe.
And follow us on Instagram at TeamQuadTravels, where you can see all of my amazing photographs.
Yes, Jeremy, we are perfectly aware of the fact that all of the photographs are yours. But make sure that you tune in next time to find out where in the world we end up next. Until next time, folks.
See ya.
Bye! And don't forget to subscribe. Bye!